Trump. It's now underway, and George Washington University law professor Jonathan Turley, he's calling it a legally pathetic and a raw political prosecution. Now, former acting Attorney General Matthew Whitaker, he says that it's just filled with appealable issues. Now, they've talked about Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg, who Donald Trump says was handpicked and funded by none other than Democratic billionaire George Soros. Now, our former president, Donald Trump, the Manhattan District Attorney, is a disgrace. This is what he's saying. The Manhattan District Attorney is a disgrace just for pursuing this case against him. In fact, Donald Trump said that rather than stopping the unprecedented crime wave that's taken over New York City right now, Alvin Bragg is doing Joe Biden's dirty work, ignoring the murders and the burglaries and all the assaults and whatnot that he should be focused on. In fact, other legal experts even point out how this case, the very first criminal trial for pretty much any former president, began as a result of what can only be described as extortion. Now, before we really get into this thing, guys, all I ask is that you take 1 second, hit the like button for the video. I totally appreciate you guys. That lets YouTube know that this is an awesome video and it's an awesome message that needs to be pushed out, and people need to hear what's going on. This corruption that's going on right here in New York City, right here in America. Also, I want to thank you so much for always sharing these videos on Facebook and Twitter. It definitely helps to get the word out.
You plan to testify in your trial in New York?
Yeah, I would testify, absolutely. It's a scam. It's a scam. That's not a trial. That's not a trial. That's a scam. They actually took their top guy, one of their top guys, put him into the DA's office to run it, and it's a shame. What they have done is incredible. It's election interference, and it's got to stop. It's a third world country. This country's never done it.
Former President Donald Trump says he's ready to
Yeah, so basically they said that the infamous Stormy Daniels repeatedly threatened that, and these are allegations. So the allegation is that the infamous Stormy Daniels repeatedly threatened that unless she was paid a chunk of money, she would go to the media reporting an alleged affair with Donald Trump. But apparently there's no evidence corroborating Stormy Daniels' claim of the affair, and her credibility is likewise kind of like close to zero. And that's just one of the reasons why Donald Trump should easily win his New York City hush money trial. And as for the polls, I really don't think Donald Trump should really be all that worried. In fact, I mean, he's doing pretty well in the polls, to be honest with you guys. Even if the Manhattan trial were to result in a conviction, many voters have already indicated that it just won't really impact how they're going to vote in November. There's a recent Quinnipiac poll, university poll that came out in March, and it found like 55% of registered voters said that a conviction in this case would make absolutely no difference in how they voted in the presidential race. So what this means is, if all goes as according to plan, Donald Trump is easily going to win this hush money trial and the presidential election right after that. So, but first, here's former acting Attorney General Matthew Whitaker talking about how this is never going to be a fair trial for Donald Trump in New York City. Take a listen.
What personalities? Can you find a leader? Can you find a polarizing figure that actually other people don't want to align themselves with? But it's hard to calculate what that means in New York, Matt. Like, can you find people who are actually open, who aren't already hugely anti-Donald Trump?
Right. And it's good to be with you this morning, Will. I think the biggest challenge is in New York County, which is Manhattan. 61% of the people that were polled said they've already judged the case and think Donald Trump is guilty. You have 7 of every 10 voters that voted for Joe Biden, only 2 Trump voters out of every 10. And so it's just going to be hard to pick a fair and impartial jury. And the biggest thing I worry about are those people that want to be on this jury that are not going to tell the truth, and they're going to say anything to try to get on the jury, to whether it's to become famous, whether it's because they want to convict the president. Picking a jury in this environment is going to be very difficult. And, I'm not sure this judge really understands how hard it is for President Trump to actually get justice in New York City.
Well, I don't know if it's the judge that doesn't know how how difficult it is to get an impartial jury, or is it that the judge doesn't care, or has the judge been placed and he's trying to carry out a mission? It's really hard to tell at this point. Then you have the jury. You know, a lot of people just want to get on the jury so that they can become famous. They want to boost their Instagram accounts. They're trying to become insta famous. But now the fact that American taxpayer dollars are being used to pay for this, it's just making people angrier and angrier. And it makes people angry just to pay taxes in the first place. And I hear a lot of people saying that this is just utter nonsense. Some point out how New York citizens should be livid that their taxpayer dollars are even going to this. What do you guys think? Y'all got to be pissed off in the comments, right? So, by the way, if you're able to see and hear me okay, hit me up in the comment section and let me know my audio and visuals good on this live here. So, and if you ask the legal scholars, the legal experts, you would basically hear some of them saying the exact same thing. Like, for one, George Washington University law professor Jonathan Turley, he pretty much ripped into former President Donald Trump's historic indictment and called it legally pathetic and a raw political prosecution. Turley also went on to explain how the indictment may come out with a crime that none of us have even heard of. Just unbelievable, guys. Appreciate the support, Douglas McCallar. I appreciate you, man. Mike Lance, what's going on from Ohio? I see you. Baby Lungs, British Gray. Thank you so much, guys. You guys are awesome. Now, let me repeat this, guys. A crime that none of us have heard of. But according to Jonathan Turley, what Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg and Judge Juan Merchan are doing with this hush money trial, this hush money case against Donald Trump, is basically for many months this bootstrapping theory that has been put out there, this idea that you could take a misdemeanor under New York law that has essentially expired, and then that it also has this 2-year statute of limitations, and essentially do CPR and revive it by connecting it to a federal crime, in this case the federal election violation, which Turley pointed out. It's got a whole host of problems with this. Now, first of all, one of the problems is that it's a federal crime that the Department of Justice, the DOJ, chose not to prosecute. That should tell you everything right there. Federal prosecutors in the Southern District of New York opted out of charging Donald Trump related to the Stormy Daniels payment in 2019, and the Federal Election Commission also tossed its investigation into the matters in 2021. Neither of these big bodies decided to entertain this. So why is Alvin Bragg even trying to pursue this thing? It's dead. There's nothing here. Alvin Bragg's own predecessor declined to prosecute it. I mean, come on. The guy before him declined to prosecute it. So Alvin Bragg comes in office and says, I think I got something here. But he's attempting to bootstrap that federal crime into a state case. And that is the basis for the indictment. I mean, Turley just kind of thinks it's rather outrageous, and frankly, it's legally pathetic. But now you got Alvin Bragg, who could, in theory, get away with it, especially with a sympathetic judge like Judge Juan Merchan and a stacked anti-Trump jury in New York. But for Turley, for Bragg to take an unproven federal crime and revive a long dead misdemeanor and turn it into a felony, that's going to really raise some concerns for a number of judges. And once it gets to the appellate level, I mean, he's going to have a particularly difficult time. I mean, Donald Trump released a statement calling the indictment a case of political prosecution and election interference at the highest level in history. Now, he said that Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg, who was handpicked, he just said it. Donald, you heard him. Donald Trump just said that DA Alvin Bragg, who was handpicked and funded by George Soros, is a disgrace. So rather than stopping this unprecedented crime wave that's taken over New York City, he's doing Joe Biden's dirty work, ignoring the murders, the burglaries, the assaults that he should be focused on. Instead, he's focus on Donald Trump's case, which really isn't even a case. He's like, he's got he's got like some MacGyver tactics where he's got bubble gum and some shoestring trying to tie this case together to try to take Donald Trump down before the 2024 presidential elections. Now, for many of Trump's supporters, this just kind of goes to show how our entire judicial system should be cut. And we need to hire just all new people who actually have integrity. But what do you guys think? Let me know what y'all think in the comments. Now, as Turley already explained, this is an unprecedented case, guys, that basically shows Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg with an axe to grind against former President Donald Trump. And this is just one of the many reasons why Donald Trump should win this hush money case, period and point blank. What do you guys think? Do you think Donald Trump should win this hush money case? Is this complete bull to you guys? Let me know. Now, outside experts are already predicting that Donald Trump could be aiming for a full acquittal, and for very good reason. So let me go ahead and break it down for you guys, right? So in this criminal trial, in fact, it's the first criminal trial ever held against a former president. Everything started when Stormy Daniels allegedly threatened to spill details of an alleged, though unproven affair with Donald Trump to the media unless she got paid. So far, there's I haven't seen any solid proof backing these claims, and many even question her reliability. Now, at this point, Donald Trump could have reported this extortion plot to the FBI. But then again, you got to think about the situation he was in at the time, right? Although Donald Trump could have reported this extortion to the FBI, he was probably wary of handing over such a spicy story to the Department of Justice, run by, his political rivals during the Obama-Biden era. So it's imagine calling the police and you know that the police are run by people who don't like you. You really can't count on them. Hopefully that makes sense, right? So that would have basically put him in a really tough spot to voluntarily place himself in. You know what I mean? So instead, he opted for a different route. He basically said, look, Trump signed a deal with Stormy Daniels legally, treating her demands as simply an annoyance. It's like some annoying buzzing gnats at a barbecue. Just get out of here, right? You see, it's very common in business to settle minor irritations with what's called a nuisance fee. And that way you can avoid the costlier and more public option of legal battles, spending time in a stuffy, stinky courtroom, and all sorts of nightmare PR campaigns, right? So now Donald Trump, he's not being accused of any illegal act for the settlement itself, labeled as hush money. That's not the thing. Instead, the charge that they're trying to pin against him now concerns how he recorded the payments in his accounts as a legal retainer, with the supposed intent of to aid and conceal another crime. So basically, they're like, hey, it's not that you cut the check. It's how you label the check. It's like, come on, guys, really? We're splitting hairs here. This is ridiculous. Now, but you gotta wonder, what should Donald Trump have actually put those payments down as in his register instead, right? Because they're saying, well, you mislabeled it, and that's why we have this case here. It's so stupid, right? But what should he have put down? Because it's still a little bit unclear what exactly the prosecutors, led by Alvin Bragg themselves, think he should have written down. If he did it wrong, well, what should he have done, right? So some people say that, if he had noted them as legal nonsense or payments for legal extortion, he might not be facing charges. Okay, sure. How about bribery as author? Nice one, Arthur. So Arthur says maybe listed as bribery. Good morning from Alaska. What's going on, Benton Matheny? So this is also good to point out. So Donald Trump didn't even claim a tax deduction for these payments and was apparently following the legal advice of his now discredited and convicted fraudster lawyer, Michael Cohen, who has apparently just completely turned his back and betrayed Donald Trump and is looking to testify against him. But that's a whole nother story. And so now for the prosecution to make their case, they must not only prove it was wrong. Check this out. The prosecution they got to jump through some serious hoops. And this is why, Judge Merchan, Alvin Bragg, this case is trash, right? And I'm going to break it down for you guys right here, right now, right? So now for the prosecution to make their case, they have to not only prove it was wrong to enter these payments in the manner that Trump did. That's number one, miracle number one, because good luck proving that. Then they also have to prove that it was done with criminal intent. So that's miracle number two. But guess what? There's more miracles that they actually have to execute on before Donald Trump is convicted, right? Now, again, this is for this charge to even begin to stick. The Manhattan prosecutors need to show not only was the action illegal, but also that there was a specific criminal intent behind it, right? Now, for instance, Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg, he argues that the timing of these payments suggests the possibility that Donald Trump was doing it to avoid these particular requirements. But then Alvin Bragg also has to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Donald Trump wasn't doing it to protect his own image or the image of his companies. So this is that's miracle number 3 and 4. So you see, this is a very difficult task of proving 2 layers of specific intent. May explain why several other legal bodies, including the DOJ, the Department of Justice, the FEC, and the state of New York, 3 separate, very big legal bodies, mind you, have hesitated to bring similar charges against Donald Trump because they realize that this is dumb. It is almost impossible and not worth the efforts, not worth the resources. But, look at Alvin Bragg's own predecessor, Cyrus Vance. He twice looked into this hush money payment and didn't even bother to bring charges because he was smart enough to realize that this was a waste of time. Alvin Bragg, he didn't think that though. So a lot of people are looking at, Alvin Bragg like, he's not just, maybe he's just not that smart. Now, okay. So let's just say Donald Trump's record keeping could have been clearer, but come on, right? To call his criminal conduct, to call his conduct criminal and especially felonious, like this is unprecedented. When in history have we ever seen this ever happen? And why are all of these firsts happening with Donald Trump in New York City? Letitia James, first to drop a $500 million fine on a victimless crime, right? I mean, you got Fannie Willis in Fulton County, Georgia. You got Jack Smith in Florida. I mean, like all of these cases just coming up out the woodwork like some weeds in a beautiful garden. Like, what's going on? Now, to compare, experts bring up the case against former Democratic presidential candidate John Edwards back in 2011 for his efforts to cover up hush money payments for an affair that he actually had while his wife was dying of cancer. The evidence of wrongdoing against Edwards was way stronger than the Trump charges, but prosecutors still failed to convict Edwards. So how could they possibly think that they're going to convict Donald Trump on this one, right? So this is why a lot of people are like, yo, this is so dumb. This is just a waste of time. This is election interference by every definition of the word. But let's be real, guys. In Donald Trump's case, getting a conviction in a predominantly Democratic Manhattan city, it might seem likely, but he's entitled to a jury that reflects a variety of political beliefs. So this could mean that Donald Trump might actually have supporters among the jurors, and it only takes one sympathetic juror to prevent a unanimous guilty verdict, potentially leading to a hung jury, maybe a retrial, which would not occur before the upcoming November election. By then, Trump could have won it all. Comment down below if you guys support Donald Trump. If you do, just type in Trump 2024. Now, I mean, it's not hard to imagine that, right? And it's conceivable that a jury may believe Trump wasn't intentionally committing a crime, but was merely keeping the entries vague in his books to avoid drawing attention to what he viewed as extortion by Stormy Daniels. And if even one juror views it this way, if even one juror looks at it this way, they could even sway others. And that demonstrates the proof beyond a reasonable doubt that's required for conviction in this alleged crime. Now, I think you guys could pretty much see it right now, right? Like the standard is remarkably high for the Manhattan court to achieve. Like this is like an impossible case. It's almost impossible to lose. And hey, if all else fails, Donald Trump still has one legal strategy up his sleeve. He also still has the option to dismiss his current defense team, even right before the trial starts, and bring in a new set of lawyers. The Supreme Court has consistently upheld that a criminal defendant can choose their own lawyer. This includes making last-minute changes if there's a valid reason. For instance, not too long ago, Judge Juan Merchan, he criticized Todd Blanche, who's Donald Trump's lead counsel, for casting doubts on his ability to effectively handle this case. Now, if Donald Trump is looking to postpone his trial, he could basically potentially achieve this by simply saying, hey, look, you're fired, right? And he could say that to Blanche. So if he fires Blanche, then that means that, hey, he needs to get a new legal team. But it looks like they're not going to be doing that. Meaning Donald Trump is probably feeling pretty confident with his odds. I mean, his defense team certainly has the opportunity to step up and make it happen. Now, regardless of the outcome, polls say that it won't really affect the November election result all that much, right? So this Quinnipiac University poll from March, just last month, showed that 55% of registered voters say a conviction in this case would make absolutely no difference in how they voted in the presidential race. Only 29% of people actually said that they would be less likely to support Trump. And that figure is composed in no small part of people who weren't likely to vote for him anyway. So he ain't really losing any votes if that were to happen. 49% of the Democrats said that the conviction would make them less likely to cast a ballot vote for Trump. But if you're Democratic, chances are you're not voting for Trump anyway. So, you know what I'm saying? Now, true, an Ipsos Politico magazine poll from March suggests that a conviction could hurt Donald Trump's chances with independents, 36% of whom said they would be less likely to support Donald Trump if he was found guilty. But that was still 8 percentage points lower than the share of independents who said that a conviction wouldn't change anything about their voting intentions, right? And among Republicans, just like 9% said that a conviction in Manhattan trial would make them less likely to support Trump. Meanwhile, 34% of them said that it would make them more likely to support his presidential bid. So, this isn't particularly surprising, though. Donald Trump supporters, and let me know if you guys agree with this, Donald Trump supporters have shown that they would stick with him through thick and thin, no matter what. And most skeptics who might be willing to turn on Trump, they probably have already turned on him. So let me know what you guys think. Would you guys stick with Donald Trump through thick and thin no matter what? Just let me know in the comments. But what do you guys think about what we talked about today? I know we talked about a lot. There's a lot going on with this new trial in New York City, this hush money trial with Stormy Daniels, Alvin Bragg, Judge Juan Merchan. But let me know where you guys stand on this. Wow. So Tree 3 Climber says arrest Soros. Let's see. Oh, wow. All right. So it looks like Soul 21G says 1,000% with Trump. Melissa Fountain says no matter what. I'm sorry. Melissa Fountain says, what does no matter what mean? Well, no matter what the outcome of this case. That's what I mean. Let's see. Douglas McCallar like button. Yes, that's right, guys. If you haven't already, if you're in here, hit the like button for the video. Share this video with someone else who needs to understand what is really going on. There is political persecution going on in our country right now, and we need to address this corrupt issue. This is widespread. Anyway, guys, I want to thank y'all so much for hitting the like button. Thank you for sharing these videos on Facebook and Twitter. Make sure you hit the bell icon so you know when I go live. And I'm gonna catch you guys on the next one. Y'all be safe.